Vande Shri Guru Gaurango Radha Govinda Sundaro Saguna Giyate Chata Gita Gurarta Gauravam. Bowing down to the holy feet of Shri Guru Shri Gauranga and Shri Shri Radha Govinda Sundar, all accompanied by their associates, I sing the glories of the hidden treasure of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So we are picking up today. We're in the middle of chapter 2, and we concluded last week with this principle which we mentioned, that what we may ordinarily see as a difficulty, an obstacle, with the right vision, we can perceive it as an opportunity for growth. And Lord Krishna is telling to Arjuna, you are lamenting about this situation, but it is actually like an open door to heaven. It is like a rare opportunity. Swarga dwaram apavritam, an open door to heaven. It's a beautiful phrase. It is a great opportunity. And so we want to try to see that vision as we are moving about the environment. We are not victims of a chaotic environment, as Srila Sridhar says, but there is purpose, there is rhyme, there is reason behind everything that is coming. We have to try to adjust our vision to see that and try to understand what is the lesson, what is the opportunity for growth here. And I'm going to pick up from verse 37. Not sure if we did fully discuss this. I'm going to actually back up. I'm going to go from verse 33 because I'm not fully sure. I'm going to go from verse 33. I think that might be best. Atachettam mimam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tatasva dharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsyasi akirtim chapi bhutani kataya shanti te vyayam sambhavitasya cha kirtir maranada tirichate vayadana nuparatam mamsyante tva maharata yesham chatvam bahumato bhuttvayasya lagavam avachavadam chabahun vadishanti tavahita nindantastava samartyam tato dukatadam mukim hato vapapsyasi swargam jitva vabhokshase mahim tasmadutishta kunteya yunaya krita nishtaya Sukha duke same kritva labha labho jaya jayo tata yudaya yujyasva naivam papam avapsyasi eshate bhita sankye buddha yoge trimam shinu buddha yukto yaya parta karma bandham brahasyasi. If you choose not to fight this battle for justice, your religious principles will be lost, fame will desert you, and sin will overcome you. People will speak of your infamy for all time to come, and for the renowned, infamy is worse than death. The great warriors who highly honor you will ridicule you, considering that you were afraid to fight. Your enemies will mock you. What could be more painful? O son of Kunti, if you are killed, you will attain heaven. And if you are victorious, you will enjoy your life on earth. Therefore, being confident of your success, arise for battle. Considering pleasure and pain, gain and loss, and victory and defeat to be one and the same, fight. No sin will be incurred by you. I have revealed to you this knowledge, buddhi, of the soul. Now hear from me how to act in this knowledge, bhakti yoga, through which you will be able to free yourself from the bondage of action. Okay, so some important points here. One thing that I'd like to point out here is that, it's something to remember as we go throughout Bhagavad Gita, that, there are two, let's put it like this. Actually, I think we discussed this point last week. There are two types of dharma. There's dharma in consideration of our eternal existence as eternal souls. And then there's dharma more on the relative side, in consideration of our current position and current situation, current circumstances, or particular nature that we have at present. That we are, male or female, or, we are a high school teacher, or we are a mother or a father, right? These are all pertaining to our temporary dharma. Like, these are duties that we have in the immediate sense, right? And then there's the higher dharma, our eternal dharma, our absolute dharma, which is pertaining to our eternal existence and eternal needs, eternal duty, right? So these are like two strands of dharma which are discussed in different places in Bhagavad Gita. And so we need to make some distinction at times. That, in other words, what I'm saying is not every advice in Bhagavad Gita is of an absolute nature. So, for example, here, the reason I'm bringing this up is Krishna is making this point that for the renowned, infamy is worse than death. And the great warriors who highly honor you will ridicule you, considering that you were afraid to fight. Your enemies will mock you. What could be more painful? So these advices, they're pertaining more to the code. This is something Jayadev was bringing up a few weeks ago. That there's a code. For this warrior class, the Kshatriyas, there's a code of life that's very much ingrained, especially in that society and of that time, of that era. There's a tight code, of behavior and ethics and renown, honor. Honor is valued more highly than life, and there's some, and that's not only because of ego, but because it's something that is encouraging persons to strive for a higher way of living, more honorable and righteous way of living, right? So there's a reason for that, But at the same time, we can also appreciate with some perspective that this is not a principle that is of eternal significance, right? From a higher perspective, from a higher spiritual or absolute perspective, then honor, dishonor, it doesn't matter, actually. But to be situated in the truth, to be situated in true righteousness, regardless of what others think or say, that's what's important. That is the most important thing. So here, like Krishna's advice is here, he's referring to this code of the Kshatriya code of the warrior class. So, may not always be relevant in our own, day-to-day, life practice. And then this verse 37 is really interesting, where he's saying that it's a win-win situation. And in more of an immediate sense, he's referring to this idea that, it said that if a warrior Kshatriya dies in a battle of justice, for a righteous cause, then they will go to heaven, And then on the other hand, if they win and they live, then they will enjoy the bounty, right? So it's win-win. You can't go wrong, right? So that's like what Krishna's referring to in more of an immediate sense. But what we can draw from this in a broader sense is that if one is situated in goodness, if one is situated in truth, in righteousness, then they're always the winner. If we're always doing the right thing, no matter, like, objectively speaking, it may be perceived as success or failure. You know, oh, you lost a lot of money, or you lost some people, or whatever it may be, right? You lost that deal, or whatever it may be. You know, one may calculate, oh, you were the loser in this situation. But if you did, you know, what was the correct thing to do according to higher principles, then you were the winner. No, you will always be the gainer in a higher sense, in a more subtle sense. No. So that's a beautiful principle to meditate on. You know, it's speaking, it's, you know, referring to a higher, more subtle plane of life, you know, where gain and loss is to be calculated according to finer principles, you know, not profit in the worldly sense, not loss in the worldly sense, but in a higher, more spiritual sense. What does it really mean, you know, to gain or to lose? You know, it's like if we acquire some wealth by dishonest means, have we lost or have we gained? Have we really gained something there, or we've actually lost? You know, we are the loser in that situation. And then if we give to a good cause, you know, then our, you know, like Chintamani, I love that about Chintamani. She has this generous spirit, you know, Divya Shakti too. I like worry about Divya Shakti's finances, because she gives all her money for Gurudev. She gives all her money to the devotees. She doesn't think about herself. But is she gaining or losing? You know, like if you look at her bank account, you may say she's losing. But if you think of it in a spirit, if you consider it from a spiritual angle of vision, no, she's gaining. No, she's winning. She's the winner. This is appreciation of a more subtle, you know, finer plane of life. Okay. So it's a really deep meditation, you know. And Ramachandra, Lord Ramachandra, of course, he's the highest example of that, you know, living a life of dharma, living a life of goodness, of righteousness, of duty. You know, he's the epitome of that, you know. And I won't go into too much because we were discussing this extensively a few weeks ago, but you know, when, you know, he's been told he's going to inherit the kingdom, and the city is preparing for a grand celebration. And then the next day, it turns out, oh no, actually, you need to be sent into exile because your evil stepmother is promoting her own son. You know? And it's mentioned about him that his expression did not change. No. For him, it was equal. He was so firmly fixed in this higher, more subtle plane of life that he's just seeing, what is my dharma? That's his only consideration. Dharma is goodness. Dharma is wealth. You know, so whether I'm the ruler of a kingdom or I'm a humble, you know, outcast in the forest, you know, it's the same to him. You know, the objective circumstances, they don't mean anything. You know, but to be situated rightly, you know, in the truth, that is, you know, that is true wealth. That is true gain. There's a beautiful, that reminds me, I'm going to try and look it up right now. I published it recently on Facebook. There's a beautiful quote of Srila Sridhar Maharaj where he's referring to the examples. It was Ramachandra's appearance day just a week or two ago. And there's a beautiful quote of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. I'm going to look it up. I have it right here. Here it is. I'm gonna read this. Lord Ramachandra set an example here on the earth that we must not allow ourselves to be guided or attracted by the so-called ideals of luxury and pleasure in this mundane world, which are very mean things. Truth is above all. That should be the ideal of our life, the beck and call of truth. We should try to live the life of a surrendered soul with our eyes fixed on the aim that is truth. We shall live a life for the truth and not for any amount of pleasure or comfort which may be proposed from this plane. This ideal helps us to select our way and shows us our brilliant future. Everything here is trifling. We must trample down under our feet all the prospects proposed by this mundane world. The truth is truth, and we must aspire to be subservient to the truth, to the highest ideal. This world is nothing. We must trample over it. This inspiration we get from the character and example of Ramachandra and Sita Devi. It will elevate the standard of our life and supply energy to show us the ideal substantially. We shall imbibe energy from their characters to pursue our ideal. We can't measure the inestimable goodness that we imbibe from the characters of Ramachandra and Sita Devi. So we are infinitely indebted to them. Let them bless us with their goodwill and grace so that we may pass through the temptations of this world towards the higher goal, which we have anyhow come to accept. Very, very moving, very rousing. And maybe I'll just, kind of continuing with this theme, I'll just mention this is one story, fairly well known in our community, but that there was one man who was in need of wealth. And he heard that Sanatan Goswami, who's one of our great teachers, he was present in the world around 500 years ago. Somehow he came in possession of a touchstone, could turn anything into gold. And so this man who was in need of help, of wealth, he heard that this Sanatan, he had this touchstone. And so he made his way to Vrindavan, where he was residing, and he approached him and asked him, I've heard that you have this touchstone, could I have it, or could I borrow it? Or and so Sanatan told him, oh yes, I have it around somewhere. I think it's in that, in that garbage pile over there. If you dig around, maybe you can find it. And so then that man, he went and he searched, and he finally found this touchstone, and he was very happy, and he was about to run off with it. And then he thought, well, hang on, hang on a minute. Now, what is it that he has that's so great, that's so valuable, that he can consider a touchstone which could give one all the wealth of the world to be garbage? This touchstone is worth garbage to him. So he must be in possession of some greater wealth. And so then he went and he asked Sanatan, well, it just occurred to me, maybe you have something more. Maybe you have something more valuable than this. And so then Sanatan told, and he said, but can you give me that? And then Sanatan said, I can give you that if you would like, but in order to do so, first you'll have to throw that touchstone into the river. And so he did that, and he ended up becoming a disciple of Sanatan Goswami.
Didi, what is a touchstone?
I think probably Jayadev or maybe Marie could tell us better, but I think it's something that anything it touches, it turns it into gold, right? Is that right?
But how my mind wants to give it a form and I'm lost. Is it like a huge boulder or a tiny pebble? Like, is it actually a stone?
Can anybody elaborate on this?
I mean, I know they show up in stories. Usually usually you can carry them with one hand, and sometimes they're like elaborate, and sometimes they're just a rock. And yeah, they have magic powers, but I don't think there's a more specific definition than that.
Maybe Divya Shakti can enlighten us. Your microphone, Divya Shakti.
Oh, Jayadev is saying it's a long story. Yeah, I knew Jayadev would know. But my reception is not good, he says.
Well, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Like in the spiritual world, they say like the trees are Chintamani. Like if you want to go from a banana tree, you know, it will give you, you can get a banana from a mango tree. So it's not like, hold on. Ask you to stop your video. Can you see me?
We can see you, we can hear you, and we are blessed. Oh, here's Govinda too. Welcome. Oh,
If
you
I'm wrong,
muted.
please correct me, because it's like what you come in contact with, what you desire, then you can become like. So I don't know for sure. I can't quote from the scriptures about the touchstone quality, but I always thought that it's kind of like that. What you desire, you can become like. You know, if you desire you know, a banana from a mango tree, you can get a mango. And that's, spiritually speaking, it's a spiritual essence. It's not like a mundane thing, like it's a rock and this and that. It's a conception. That's what I feel, Vishaka. So if I'm wrong, tell me, because maybe I'm totally off on that. But that's what I feel. But ask Jayadev, because he has a lot of knowledge of things. Come on, Jayadev, where are you? I can't even see you.
He's got bad reception. But thank you, Didi. That was lovely.
How about Braja Mohini? Braja?
I think she might be cooking.
Oh,
But anyway, the main idea, I think we have the main idea here. And I'm also reminded of another Bhagavad Gita verse. This is, if we fast forward to chapter 6, verse 22, there's a beautiful verse that Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he's discussed. Yam labdva shaparam labam manyate nadikam tata. That this statement here, that for one who, this is speaking about the experience of one who has even once experienced that superior subjective plane. You know, if you've once experienced divinity, you know, in one form or another, then this is the outcome of that, that you will consider there could be no greater gain than this. You know, having attained this, one will feel that all the wealth of this world, it is worthless. You know, that is what this is. You know, yam labdva shaparam labam manyate nadikam tata yasmin stito na dukena gurunapi vishalyate. He considers that there is no greater gain in this world. They are undisturbed by even the worst suffering. In his spiritual enlightenment, he tastes transcendental, eternal bliss. So, and then there are also, you know, radical statements by Lord Chaitanya, you know, nadanam, najanam, na sundaram, where he's like rejecting all the prospects of this world. I'm not interested in wealth, followers, sense pleasure. You know, all I want is mama janmani janmani bhavatad bhakti. I only want pure love for you. You know, so these things, you know, they give us some indication of what there's some idea, some hint of an idea of how high, how valuable this treasure is. You know. to once come in some slight contact with that, everything else will become like garbage. You know, that's what this is. That's what we're talking about here. Okay, so maybe we will carry on. Stop these notifications. Any other thoughts on that from our beautiful group here? Should we continue? Okay, so we are in chapter 2. Oh yeah, and then this next verse, so that we were just discussing verse 37, then verse 38. Oh, I also did want to mention that in regards to this verse 37, that our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he also quoted this verse in relation to his own life of service in his temple, in our temple in Bengal. You know, that this was how he situated himself as he went about his daily duties, his service duties. That, you know, being a part of a mission, as probably everybody here knows, anyone who has some relation with you know, some religious organization or another, you know, there's challenges, right, that come up. And sometimes you have to make difficult decisions. You know, sometimes you have to make decisions that are the right decision, but they may make you look bad, right? Other times you may be tempted to make wrong decisions that will make you look good, right? And it can get very complicated, and all kinds of points of deviation can come to tempt you, you know. And so our Gurudev, he cited this verse 37, which we're discussing, saying that this is how he situated himself, you know, as he went about his service life. That you know, if I'm always doing what is correct according to higher principles, then I'm always the winner. You know, then I've always won. I've always succeeded, no matter what persons may consider by external calculation. No, I was always the winner. And so I appreciated that very much. And then also this verse 38 is also very helpful. Considering pleasure and pain, gain and loss, and victory and defeat to be one and the same, fight. So this is the duality, right, of daily life that we deal with. You know, the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, you know, friends, enemies, these things are always cycling, right? And the Bengali is very nice, the Sanskrit is very nice. Sukha is happiness, dukkha is unhappiness. You know, same kritva. You know, it's interesting sometimes to see the connections between English and Sanskrit, because this same, it means like the sameness, equal, right? So like seeing happiness and sadness on the same platform. Labha alabha. Labha alabha means like gain and loss. Considering gain and loss to be on the same platform. Jaya ajaya. Victory and defeat. In Sanskrit, when you put in an A in front of something, it negates it. So jai means victory, ajai means like non-victory or defeat. No, labha means gain, alabha means loss. You know? So these are, you know, this is the duality that we deal with in our daily life. And it's so easy to get spun out by that. It's so easy to get bewildered by that. And this is one of the main advices of Bhagavad Gita. This is like a very strongly emphasized theme throughout Bhagavad Gita. And this is one definition of yoga, which we've also discussed. Achieving this state of equanimity. No, not to be bewildered by these fluctuations, you know, in the environment, but to connect, to tap into this deeper plane of life. You know, not to be so absorbed on the superficial plane. You know, there's this beautiful quote by maybe it's Balzac, French writer. To live in the presence of great truths and eternal laws how does it go? To live in the presence of great truths and eternal laws. Oh no, I've forgotten it. But then he says, that is what keeps a man patient when the world ignores him, and calm and unspoiled when the world praises him. Not being emotionally dependent on everyone's opinion, or whether you're considered conventionally successful or unsuccessful or wealthy or poor, but you're tapped into a deeper plane of life. That's what we're trying to move towards. Okay. And then I stopped the reading with this verse 39. I've revealed to you this knowledge, buddhi of the soul. Now hear from me how to act in this knowledge, bhakti yoga, through which you will be able to free yourself from the bondage of action. And now this is and Charu Damodar has joined us. Welcome, Prabhu. So now this is an idea which Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of our principal gurus from the last century, he has discussed this idea of buddhi yoga, right? Which is very interesting and helpful in understanding Bhagavad Gita. We see in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is discussing different types of yoga. And when I say yoga here, I mean in the sense of a discipline, a path which is helping to connect us to the divine. This is the other principal way in which the word yoga is discussed. So these different types of yogas are discussed in Bhagavad Gita. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he discusses this really interesting idea that we can conceive that there's one yoga, and that is actually being discussed, that is buddhi yoga, and that all of the other yogas, they are kind of like points in the development of buddhi yoga. And that it's a little bit of a difficult idea to understand. I'm not fully confident I understand it myself. But the idea of buddhi yoga, it's kind of like connected with this broader conception of consciousness, right? Development of consciousness, and there are different points of evolution in the development of consciousness. And so that there's actually one thread, one line of yoga in Bhagavad Gita, but then there are different points in that thread, which are marked by particular ideals, and there's a gradation here, moving from more basic to more refined, more sophisticated. Sophisticated is the wrong word, but more evolved. But let me read this commentary here. I think that will be more helpful. So this is a commentary on this verse referring to buddhi yoga. It will be revealed that buddhi yoga, the yoga of wisdom, is a singular path. When buddhi yoga is seen to be limited by the ideal of action, it is known as karma yoga. When it extends beyond action up to the peak of knowledge, it is known as jnana yoga or sankhya yoga. And when transcending the limitations of both action and knowledge, it touches bhakti or devotion, it is then known as bhakti yoga, or perfectly pure and complete buddhi yoga. And another interesting point here is that Srila Sridhar Maharaj, in one place, he actually says that buddhi yoga is more of a developed idea than even bhakti yoga.
Didi, what is the translation of buddhi exactly?
I would like to hear what Jayadev says about that. Here it's put as wisdom. Sometimes you'll see it as intelligence. Jayadev, I'd love to have your input here.
I unmuted him, so just try speaking, Jayadeva, and I'll mute you again if we can't hear you.
Okay, me now?
Yeah, you're a little fuzzy, but we can hear you.
Give it a go. Go on,
I would
Prabhu.
think so. Well, first I was going to ask you, Vishaka, about that. But yeah, this could be what? I feel like it's, you know, this
Oh,
is like knowledge. Yep. Buddhi is knowing. Yeah.
we can't hear you.
Oh,
Can't
dang.
hear you.
I thought I heard him say, it sounded like he was saying it is knowing. Is that
Mm.
it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there is. I've seen, you know, a spectrum of meanings. I've seen different connotations. I believe it can also refer to consciousness. You know, but let me get back to. I will ask, and we will ask our pundit friend Lalita Madhava for some elucidation on that. You know, but here it is in a simple way. It is translated as wisdom, Buddhi yoga, yoga of wisdom. But so the point I was just raising there is that Srila she makes this really interesting point that Buddhi yoga is actually more than bhakti yoga. No. Because he pointed out bhakti, if the word yoga is there, it indicates, you know, as I said, a discipline, practices. And so Srila said that bhakti yoga, it indicates more where there's more emphasis on practices. You know, like you have particular practices and rituals which are supporting your cultivation of bhakti, your cultivation of devotion. Whereas Buddhi yoga, Srila said, indicates something more broad, you know, something that is more natural, more of a natural expression of the soul, you know. But it is a quite a fine idea, and I would like to get some input from one of our pundit friends. So we'll come back to this again.
Yeah, I'd like to know where you heard that at from Guru Maharaj about Bhakti Yoga and Buddhi Yoga.
There's a video. There's a video. Actually, you can even find it on YouTube. I can find that for you. Yeah, can share it in our group too. Yeah, I mean, you know, actually, Bhakti Yoga, it is it's not an absolute term. I mean, it indicates someone who is practicing, right? Yoga indicates someone who's practicing. It doesn't indicate a perfected person. No. So another thing that Srila Sridhar said in that video, welcome to Jiva Ji. Pronounce Haribol. Dandavat. Another comment Srila Sridhar made in that video is he said that Buddhi yoga is closer to the ideal of Krishna consciousness. And you know, this phrase Krishna consciousness, it's so wonderful, you know, like you won't find that in the scripture. You'll find something similar, like you'll find Krishna Smriti, you know, terms like this, but like that, so the Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, like he coins that phrase. And that's like relatively recently, but it's so perfect that you see like all of our Srila Govinda Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they're using that term because it's so perfect. And it's so, it just perfectly encapsulates what this is. You know? So when you say Bhakti Yoga, we use the term Bhakti Yoga a lot because it's kind of a reference that people can relate to. Everyone knows what yoga is, but Bhakti Yoga ultimately, it doesn't represent the end. No, it represents someone who is in the state of practicing, right? Transition. It's not indicating that highest stage of evolution. You know, Krishna consciousness, like that. One's consciousness is steeped in Krishna. Now, one's whole existence, it's something natural, it's something organic, it's something that's emanating. It's not something that you're practicing or you're trying to do, but it's just emanating out of you in the most beautiful and natural way. You know? So bhakti yoga, we use that term a lot, and it's helpful like for outreach purposes, as I said, but it doesn't actually reflect, you know, what this is in the highest sense. You know, that's what I'm saying. So I hope that makes it a little more clear to you, Divya Shakti. Okay. Any other thoughts from our group, or we have a few? Oh, wow, we're almost at the end of our meeting today. Let me see. Any? Oh, Narutam, welcome. Dandavad.
Hare Krishna, Dandavad. I joined late, but yeah, I have a few thoughts on this, and I think you're right in the Krishna consciousness, this term, in the sense that like as we progress through through the Bhagavad Gita, we learn about first karma yoga, then Dhyan yoga, then I think Buddhi yoga, I guess, a part of Dhyan yoga. I don't know, but I guess like there's different types of yogas from a mundane point of view when people see, but then when we link it to bhakti, to Krishna consciousness, then they are used in the service of Krishna. So then they're no longer just regular yoga. They're somehow bhakti yoga. So I don't know if that's the Buddhi yoga, Buddhi does, like you're right, intelligence, wisdom is true. But then when it's linked to yoga, is like you said, it's like consciousness. So it's like using our intelligence in service of Krishna and his devotees in Krishna consciousness. That's what I was going at. I don't know. I think I don't have that realization to share, but anyways, I was just trying to relay, like even like karma yoga. If you're working for Krishna, like chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3 mentions karma yoga, then chapter 4 is like transcendental knowledge, then chapter 5 is karma yoga again, but now it's karma yoga in the service of Krishna. So in that same way, there can be intelligence, but when we have transcendental knowledge and realization, we can then use it in the service of Krishna.
Yeah, I mean, on all of these yogas, there are principles which can be extracted, right? And can be appreciated from the perspective of Krishna consciousness. Absolutely. And that's, you know, and that's something which I think we discussed recently, that many of these points that are made in Bhagavad Gita, we can read them on two levels. We can read them like more contextually, like say some principles of karma yoga. We can read them in the context of karma yoga, but we can also extract them and see how they have a place in the broader, more complete teachings of bhakti, or Krishna consciousness. So that for sure is true. It's just, you know, all of these yogas, they have a place and they have value. It's just that, you know, what is given in the teachings of bhakti or Buddhi yoga, they can be used synonymously, Buddhi yoga, bhakti yoga. That is how Bhakti Vinod is using them here. That's giving the most complete yoga. You know, and the others are touching upon, different layers of truth which have value, but they're not giving the complete picture that we find in bhakti. So yes, but yes, very, very nice point. Nice point. Do we want to hear anything from our Jiva G life coach?
Yes, we do. I told her to make an announcement here in our group. It also nice to hear some Harikatha reflections flowing from her lotus mouth as well. If she's available, or she just popped off.
Oh, she just dropped off.
Anyway, how about I'd like to hear from Divya Shakti Didi some more.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from Divya Shakti. Are you there, Divya Shakti Didi, still? She's waving. Okay. Maybe she's doing an offering, actually. She might be in the middle of an offering right now, some worship. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyone else want to share any reflections? Govinda's with us after a long absence. We're very happy to have you.
Dandava, Govinda, yes, let's hear from you.
Dandavat, Govinda.
Nothing really to say other than happy to be here, happy to be able to be attending again. Camera's been off because I've been having to multitask because I'm super busy all the time now, but just nice to have the auspicious association and hear the, you know, purifying sound vibration of Harinam and everything. So thank you for gracing me with your association.
We've missed you, Govinda, and so good to have you back.
Can we hear from Sulalita?
Thunderwords. What can I say? Everything is beautiful from Lotus Mount of Vishaka Devi Dasi.
What time is it now in Turkey? It's getting late, huh? Thundervat.
It's 9 p.m.
Okay, okay, not too bad, not too
Yes,
bad.
yes.
Okay. Well, it's so exciting to have devotees from Turkey tuning in. Like, God, this is amazing. Feels like such a privilege.
Thank you, Didi. Thank you.
Right. Well, do you want to share anything, Chintamani?
I want to hear from Krishnandrani.
Dandavat Didi.
Dandavat.
Vishaka Didi. Actually, I was going to ask you about something I heard from either Srila Gurudev or Srila Sridhar Maharaj about Uddhava. I think he said, or I read somewhere, that Uddhava wouldn't fight if he were in Arjuna's place. So is it connected to what you said in the beginning? We have different natures. And so we make our own choices.
Well, it's more connected to the fact that there are, what I was just mentioning earlier, that we can conceive of two types of dharma, right? There's the more worldly dharma, and then there's the higher, more spiritual dharma, right? And so Krishna's advice to Arjuna to fight, that's pertaining to his identity as a kshatriya, as a warrior, right? And so then finally Arjuna follows that instruction, and he, you know, and he acts as he should, as a warrior. But Uddhava, I believe it was originally Bhaktivinoda Thakur who made this comment, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj cites it, that he was of the opinion that if Uddhava, he is another friend, a closer friend of Krishna. And Bhaktivinod's opinion was that if Uddhava heard the same instructions in Bhagavad Gita, he would have dropped his weapons and left the battlefield. And why? Because at the end of Bhagavad Gita, after giving so many advices, Krishna says, actually, just give up all dharma and surrender to me. Right? In the famous verse, Sarva dharmam prityaja mamekam sharanam vaja ham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshaya shami ma shuja. Like, just give up all the lower conceptions of duty. Take care of this primal duty as a loving servant of God. And if you take up your fundamental duty then all of your subsidiary duties, they'll be taken care of. So don't worry about the subsidiary duties. Just take care of the prime duty. And I don't worry about everything else. This is Krishna's final instruction in Bhagavad Gita. So this was Bhaktivinoda's opinion. Uddhava, if Uddhava heard that advice, he would have just left the battlefield. No. So yeah, it gives a very interesting perspective on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Krishna and Johnny D? Does that make sense? Oh, are you there, Krishna and Johnny? Oh, we lost her. Okay, well, yeah, but it's a very wonderful comment, and I'm glad that that was brought up. Okay, well, maybe we'll close here for, oh, maybe she lost her connection. She just dropped out. Okay, well, maybe we'll close. Oh, she's back. Are you there, Krishna and Johnny?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay,
Thank
so,
you so much.
okay, it makes,
I heard most of it.
Okay.
I think I missed the last part, but still,
okay, okay.
thank you so much. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it gives, I think the last thing I said was just that it gives a very interesting perspective on all of the teachings that are given in Bhagavad Gita, you know, and understanding there's some gradation in the levels of instruction that are given in Bhagavad Gita. Not every instruction is for every person, you know, but there are levels of instruction. So Arjuna followed one, but Uddhava, who's on a higher level, he would have followed a different one, you know. So yeah, right. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, well, oh, hang on now. Tungarasa's just joined us. Dandavad Tungarasa. We're just, you know, actually we changed this meeting so it's an hour earlier now, and we're just finishing now.
Okay, understand. Okay.
But,
Perhaps next time.
yeah, next time. Yeah. So I think it's 7 p.m. your time that we do it.
Yes, thank you. Then,
But nice
me
to
too,
see you. Nice to see you pop in for a moment.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, should we ask Gangalila to pray us out, or any final words from Chintamani?
What? Chintamani, do you have final words? I have actually here is my cousin Katya from Germany. I don't know if she wants to be shown. And Stephanie, Vishaka, you remember Stephanie?
Oh, Stephanie's here. Hi. Great to see you, and nice to meet you, Katya.
Me too. Yeah, she's staying with me for a couple of weeks from Germany, and Stephanie came up for the day. So, and I'm so glad I tuned in here. It's so enriching. It really makes my day. Thank you so much, Vishaka, for sharing.
Oh,
Accessible, because I think I don't find a way in otherwise into these elaborate teachings. And why don't we all try to just unmute and chant 3 rounds of the Maha Mantra?
try.
Get us going for the rest of the day. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Shakadidi Maharaj ki jai, devotees assembly Maharaj ki jai, Tamani Maharaj ki jai, everyone attending Maharaj ki jai, Maharaj ki jai to Zoom. Zoom.
All right. Hope you all have a wonderful week ahead, and look forward to next time. Thank you all for joining, giving your good company. Viva.
Thank you.
Dandavad, Haribol.
Dandavad.
Haribol, Dandavad.
Jai Vishaka Devi Dasi.
Jai.
Jai. I